Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of People Have Been Asking for This One for a while. A long while. I'm your host, Weaver Beats. Today I'll be making a funk song without samples. That's right, you heard me. Without samples. What is a funk song? Well, it's like a lo-fi trap type of thing. You don't have to use Ableton, but I'm going to be using Ableton in this. So it'll be much easier to follow along if you use Ableton, but you should be able to follow along if you use any DAW really. It also helps if you know how to decently play on either a keyboard or a push or some sort of MIDI controller, because since we're not sampling, we're going to require some actual performance skills. You can also draw on the notes or something if you want to though. Basically, I think there's a few different styles we could go for here. These are just some ideas I think that would work for a no sample funk song. I think there might be some other ones as well, but these are the ones that came to my mind. Okay, so one of the styles that I hear is by Sodier or Intius. I don't know who the originator of it is, but essentially it's a no sample type of funk song that either uses an electric piano or a xylophone. And they also use bells, so that's one type of sound we can go for. I don't think I'm going to go for that one today though. I might save that for another video. Another option would be something more synth influenced, kind of like in XXXXXS. I think that was the right amount of X's. By the way, I keep getting tweets to make a tutorial on this guy's sound, and don't worry, I'll make that one as well, although I already kind of have one similar to that. That's my how to make vapor funk tutorial. Or another song similar to that would be my song Smoke a Junt. Another option would be a wave slash funk combo. Basically it would be all synthesizers and the bass would be a respace, but the drums would be funk, and then the vocals would be funk. Kind of like this song right here. And lastly, this is what we're actually going to do today. Instead, I'm actually going to try to imitate the sampled funk sound, but without samples. I know, pretty complicated stuff, but I'll be going back to do those as well. Let's try to picture it real quickly. Essentially, we would want to have more than one instrument in there at a time. Music sounds good with harmonies. So we might have like an electric piano with a saxophone, or we might have strings with guitar. But basically we want to combine some sounds. Usually just one sound isn't going to sound too good. We need harmony. So keep that in mind. We'll be emulating old school funk with soul and funk samples. Alright, so we're going to want to start with the BPM at either 115, 120, 130, 140. You can either start with the vocals or the drums. I feel like if you're trying to force yourself into a certain genre, you should definitely probably start with the drums, but since we're doing funk, we actually have a little bit of leeway here. We can work on the vocals first. Essentially, I'm going to make a 4 or 8 bar vocal loop, and then I'm going to build around it. If this is uncomfortable for you, you could also start with the drums. You should make sure you have a folder of funk vocal chops before you get started, and they should all have the respective BPMs attached to the file name. This will save you a lot of pain in the beginning. If you can get the vocals time aligned right away, it's really like kind of reverse engineering it. What I like about starting with the vocals is it really locks you into that funk sound early on, and it shows you where you have space for instruments. When I do the opposite, if I make a no sample funk song and I do the vocals last, I pretty much put all the melodic shit in the wrong areas, and it doesn't sound like a funk song anymore. Basically start adding melodic elements, either riffs. Start adding one riff by one and try to find ones that are different from each other but in the same key and go together well. So for me, I'm just starting with 2 chords. They're really 2 simple chords, and then I'm gonna build on top of them, adding a few notes manually. Don't worry, it's gonna build into something much more complicated soon. I'm using SERUM and a random preset I found. I know some of you are already writing in the comments, Weaver, why are you using presets? This is a tutorial channel. Well, that's because this is already going to be like a 10-minute video at least. So this isn't a sound design video. This is a how to make funk video without samples. Alright, so making sure this and the vocals go together are some of the most important parts of the song. So I made sure these sound really nice together before going on to the next step. You can do anything you want after this essentially, because we got the most difficult parts out of the way right at the beginning. I think next I would add the drums. Alright, so for the drums, I laid down a kick and snare pattern. I just dragged in a bunch of random kicks and a bunch of random snares. Picked out the ones that sound good together and with the song. Put those in there. Then I added some hi-hats to a drum rack. Then I put different arpeggiator speeds on each hi-hat. Then when I play different notes of the same hi-hat, it'll be a different speed, and it allows you to get really complex rhythms without having to draw it in there one by one, like some sort of lunatic. Then we're going to add the bass. Now, a few notes about the bass. Again, just like the lead, you don't want to only be playing the root note when it's changing to it, because that's boring. So you're going to want to be adding some little fill notes here and there. You're going to want to be adding some different intervals instead of just the root. And you're going to want to add some interesting rhythm to it. For me, I ended up adding a few extra bass notes that didn't hit where the kicks hit. So I ended up having to go back and add a few kicks on top of where those 808s hit. It's a very important trick if you're trying to get your track bumping, which you should be. Some of you guys might be like, hey, Weaver, you only have one instrument in here. Didn't you say earlier we need more than one instrument? You're goddamn right. Alright, so now we're going to start trying to add different instruments to this. Since we have chords in it already, we're not going to want to add more chords. That's just stupid. So we're going to want to add either a lead riff or some sort of key. One of the biggest things I found when composing the saxophone riff is if the chord is a 4-bar loop, then the saxophone can't also be a 4-bar loop, because then it sounds way too predictable and, I don't know, just boring. I wrote a riff that is like 8 or 16 bars, and then it kind of changes a little bit over the 4 bars, giving it a little bit more interest over time. Then from there, we're just going to arrange the beat in a way that sounds interesting and it does not get boring. Maybe add some effects to it. Alright guys, that's it for this video. Hopefully you guys figure out how to make a funk song without samples. If this wasn't the exact tutorial you're looking for, don't worry, I'll be trying to make a similar video on this, but with a different style. So instead of me imitating a sampled funk sound, I will go for the Sodier funk sound, I don't know, or the N5XS funk sound. Anyways, let me know what kind of video you want to see next in the comments. New trap and mix coming out soon, new music coming out soon. Subscribe to my second channel for beats, gaming videos, other stuff. I'm your host for your beats. Tune in next time when I become bold and brash. Shout out to my patrons, you guys are awesome. You're now listening to The Third Child. A link to check out his music is down in the description.